Landorus is a scourge of the overused metagame for years. Terrific typing, ability, move pool, stats, everything. It has been the defining Pokemon of Smogon Central metagame for literally years. It has and always will be the standard to which other Pokemon are measured in OU. Landorus is a very controversial Pokemon, despite being #1 in usage for almost every month of OU since usage stats have even been tracked on Pokemon Showdown. It's never been banned, nor has it even faced a suspect test. To the outside observer, you might think, why on earth is such an amazing, overused, no pun intended, Pokemon been allowed to stay, while other Pokemon with lower usage stats have received a ban hammer to Ubers, most recently Zygarde? And to answer that question, I really don't know. I did try to find an official webpage for Smogon's criteria for banning, but I could not find one. I suppose it's a tier-to-tier issue. Regardless, I know one of the main reasons for a suspect test is over-centralization, which is a box Landorus definitely checks off. You can run HPS on pretty much any Pokemon, famously Landorus itself, because hey, there's like a 40 to 50% chance that Landorus is going to be there taking 4 times super effective damage from it. But I believe that's where the line stops and why Landorus has never received a suspect test. Because you see, Landorus isn't that good per se. Obviously, it's amazing, but what I mean is that it's not really an overbearing Pokemon in many teams. Very rarely does a Landorus get 3, 4 plus kills in a game. That's just not its role. Even at its best, the rarely used Z-move sets will net only 1 or 2 kills in a match. It's quite easy to revenge kill an SD3 attack or 2 attacks rocks Landorus. Now that could partially be because Lando is such a threat and everyone's prepared for it, but it's not that hard to have a Pokemon with more than 91 base speed with a water or ice move. The Pokemon that are banned, however, they are either unrelenting or really strong, or in the case of most recent bans, when they get going and start setting up, it's very hard to stop them. Zygarde, Naganadel, Pheromosa, with their boosting moves and the Ultra Beast ability, they got on a roll quickly. Landorus doesn't really do that. It's not a threat at team preview where you think, man, I really need to make sure this doesn't sweep my team. It also isn't centralizing in the same way those Pokemon are and were. Sure, you used Ice Beam or HP Ice on a Pokemon you can, but it's not like we need AV T-Tar or fully Spidef Tran like we did for Naganadel. Another issue people bring up is Landorus' sheer versatility. There are so many sets that the Landorus can run. Scarf, either bulky or offensive, defensive, leftovers, helmet, Yachi, Iapapa, Z-move, Flyinium, Rockium, or Groundium, all either bulky or fast, Sash, and the list goes on and on. How are you supposed to stop all those? Well, Team Preview is a pretty damn good tool. If your opponent has a Heatran or Ferrothorn, chances are their Landorus is going to be less bulky and not have rocks. Do they have no other viable Scarfer, Defogger, Z-move user? The only way Lando can really throw you for a loop if it's a rogue explosion set. Otherwise, you can get a rough idea of what you're dealing with at turn 0 at Team Preview, or turn 1 once you see it go for a U-turn, and you can judge it by its damage and speed. There are other Pokemon in the tier whose versatility is much more threatening, and I'd like to explain how their versatility is more reason for banning than Landorus's. Greninja, for example, is insane. Not only is the limitless potential of stabs daunting to deal with, but you also have the possibility of the Ash Greninja form. You could have a Protean Grunt with any combination of water, dark, ice, poison, ground, rock, psychic, plus spikes or T-spikes, and most of them potentially boosted by a Z-crystal. It can also be Scarfed and be the ultimate revenge killer, or it can be a choice specs Ash, Gren, and you know what that does? It gets a kill and then it becomes either a sweeper or a breaker, and it's crazy that it can be both of those. All those out of left field Z moves are just so much to deal with. And another, and what I think even better example is Magearna. While it initially started as an AV pivot, people eventually realized the sweeping power that a boosting, calm-minding, infinite coverage, super bulky monster could have. The most common sweeping Magearna is Shift Gear with at least 2 attacks and either a third attack or a Calm Mind. And the choices Meg can have for those moves is insane. Flare or Flash Cannon for stabs, Focus Blast, Bolt Beam, HP Fire, and a nice Energy Ball for picking off water grounds. There's so many combinations to deal with, along with the option for a Z-move on most of them, that once you figure out the mag set, it's usually too late. Magearna also throws the conventional wisdom of keeping your sacks for late game on its head. You can't just throw your low HP mon to help get your Revenge Killer in, because Soul Heart will give it a +1 in special attack. And it can be difficult to revenge a mag for most teams, as it outspeeds Scarfers up to 102 base speed, and the only remotely common Scarfer that can outspeed and kill it is Blacephalon, which doesn't see nearly enough usage to be considered a meta check. That's only one of its 2 big sweeping sets. You can completely reverse how your opponent deals with Mag by using a Trick Room variant, obviously throwing a wrench in the plans of anyone preparing to outspeed it with a fast enough Scarfer. Not only does this mess with plans to outspeed Mag, it can also stop them from killing Mag in the event that they do get an attack off. 252 Jalo Lando only has a 12.5% chance of OHKOing max HP Mag. Think about that. 145 base power, stab, EQ. Can't even kill a sweeper with max HP and no physical defense. And that's even assuming it does get an attack off and, you pray for Floor Command and a miss. And that 12.5% chance, it's the same for Mega Medichamp's High Jump Kick. Those are the 2 biggest hits in the tier, and Magirna can shrug them off. And while we're at it, I know AV Mag isn't a threat like the others, but Z Magma Storm from Modest Tram only does 92 to AV Mag. It survives even after it rocks. These 2 Pokemon showcase how versatility can really be cause for a suspect test, and I think they're Pokemon that should get it way before Landorus, because you can deal with Landorus in many ways after turn 0, turn 1, once you figure out what it is.